Well, State Representative Evan Jenne, you're going to have a pretty busy session, even though it may not be a great one for Democrats. What do you see ahead in Tallahassee?
Well, really, this upcoming swearing-in and special session that we're going to have to override some vetoes is going to be a really telling point in terms of the direction of the legislature, at least from the start of this session. The new embodiment with the Republicans having a supermajority, and really most of the rules are thrown out due to the fact that they have more than two-thirds of the body under their control. What's going to be really interesting is to see what they do on the bill basically doing away with the Department of Management Services, which oversees pretty much all development, land development in this state, and whether they want to ram that through. And also with a Medicare resolution that Speaker Cannon is going to be bringing forward. It's going to be really telling to see whether or not they have the debate, because at this point they can cut off the debate at any point they want. So it's going to be very telling moving forward whether this is going to be cordial, whether the majority will be cordial in their victory, or really decide to throttle down on folks and say we're going to push all this through as quick and hard as possible.
Now, some of that is important, but inside to people who are big in the process. Bring it back to South Florida. What is it going to mean for South Florida that we have now a greater than two-thirds majority in the House and Senate in the other party, and South Florida is predominantly Democratic?
Predominantly Democratic. We do have a number of leaders, of course, that are Republican that will be back. Senator Bogdanoff, Senator-elect Bogdanoff, and some other folks will be up there on the other side. But really, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be up to the members themselves, how they determine, how they position themselves in the legislature, what bridges they're willing to burn and what bridges they're really willing to build. The majority of the stuff that goes on in Tallahassee isn't partisan. But on certain issues, usually social issues, and the budgetary issues have become more and more partisan as we move forward, those have really been the things that have become ultra partisan. On a day-to-day basis, I think it's going to be, unfortunately for Floridians and South Floridians, business as usual. There isn't this great shake-up in leadership. I know there was a national wave thinking we need to just get rid of the incumbents. Well, the Republican Party's had control of the state of Florida for over a decade now at this point. Anything that's state-related that hasn't been going right falls squarely at their feet. Now with this ultra majority that they have, it's going to be very interesting because to see how far they actually push things to the right. Florida, as it sits, is already fairly right of center in terms of its policies and its statutes. It's hard to imagine getting too much more conservative, but they've indicated they're going to do just that.
But what about, say, things like, I don't know, pork is a bad name, but things that people, money from Tallahassee for a place like Broward County. There obviously we have some key Republicans from Broward, but I mean, does it become more difficult when there are some from other parts of the state that still kind of think of Broward as the People's Republic of Broward County?
And look, I mean, if you look at the results from the election, there were really only two inroads that the Tea Party made in both of those seats. In both of those seats, they included a large part of coastal Palm Beach as well. It wasn't as if the heart of Broward County fell to the Tea Party in any way, shape, or form. You look around, the four highest, in terms of percentage, the four highest vote getters of any candidates for a state office, including state Senate and state House, along with the cabinet seats, belong to four people from Broward County. So those inroads weren't made as much in Broward, but they were, and they resonated elsewhere around the state. I think you can ask any Democrat that ran statewide, and they'll agree with me on that point. But what we really need to do is just make sure that everyone stays engaged. Myself, I'm going to have a seat at the table given my position. Representative Joe Gibbons is going to have a seat at the table for everything. Ron Saunders is the minority leader elect right now. He will be in a couple weeks the minority leader. All these folks are from South Florida, from Dade, Broward counties, and I think that's one thing we have to look forward to. Perry Thurston from right here, I believe that we're in Perry's district right now at the library. Perry is going to be in charge of all the redistricting for the minority caucus, so he'll have a seat at that table as well. So I think Broward County is still fairly well represented. It's just we're going to have to work a little bit harder and work a lot smarter in order to get things done, but each of those people that I've named, for the most part, has really gone above and beyond in terms of reaching across the aisle in order to get priority things done, things that really matter in terms of the economy. Last year, I was allowed to, and really I say allowed because ultimately they could have just had a Republican run it, to run an amendment to the transportation bill that put thousands of jobs into our economy over the course of the next 2 years. That's a way a Democrat can be effective, but you have to build up your reputation as someone who's not there to burn bridges, slap people in the face, and really try to embarrass folks. If a bill's bad, it's bad. Say it's bad, but you don't have to put that reflection on the actual person holding the bill. And that's the thing. I think a lot of it has to do with personal relationships up there. As sad as that sounds, it's very true. The fact that I can pick up the phone and talk to the speaker designate right now, that's important when you're going to be dealing with this, and especially in those high-pressure situations that we'll be facing in session.
So all isn't lost for Broward County?
No. Not by any stretch of the means. I mean, look, we haven't had huge amounts of clout in Tallahassee for a long, long time. I mean, really, since the Republicans took over the legislature and the governor's mansion almost simultaneously. Since that point, if anything, I think we've done a good job at adapting ourselves. I never worked within a majority party. I've always been in the minority party. So for me, it's business as usual. This is going to be my 4th and 5th year being the minority whip. I've built up a lot of relationships and a lot of political capital with folks that, quite frankly, I've never held an IOU out to anyone saying, hey, remember when I did this to you? But as we get into tougher and tougher times, it's time to start bringing those IOUs back out. And you have to be there. And I think when people view you as an individual, and a lot of these folks from Broward County are viewed that way. A lot of people that are going to be in this meeting are viewed as folks that are actually trying to help bills. We're not there to completely be obstructionist. There are things that we won't get out of the way for. We will stand in front of the bulldozers for and get run over. But there are other issues that we just want to help make the bill a little better. When it comes to creating jobs, that's everyone's top priority. That's not a partisan issue. When it comes to making sure that the economy is getting healthier and stronger, that's everybody should have that position that they're trying to do that. So as long as you're viewed as someone who's trying to help that process along and not just throw monkey wrenches and try to destroy the process, you're always going to have at least a seat at somebody's table.
All right. Representative Evan Jenne, thank you.
Thank you, guys.